This is the Benchwarmers Trivia Podcast. We have assembled the world's finest sports and trivia dorks to prove once and for all that we are just as bad at this as we were at sports.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Benchwarmers Trivia Podcast, sports trivia for those of us who rode the pine. I'm your host, Dan, and today's game will be a special home court advantage game, pitting the Benchwarmer team of Scott and Ede against our guest, brand new player, Steve Bahnaman. Welcome to the bench, Steve. Why don't you take a minute and let us know where you're from, teams you root for, anything else you'd like to share with us.
All right, that's the second thing's a long list. I am Steve Bahnaman. I am graduated high school in Midland, Michigan. I live in Raleigh, North Carolina, and work at Campbell University as an electronic resources librarian. Go Camels. I am a lifelong Duke fan. I am a lifelong Purdue fan, even though I lived in Michigan, so I had to root for a team that was out of state. I root for all of the Detroit teams. I root for all of the Houston teams, and I root for all of the teams from North Carolina that are pro. So it's a long list, but and unfortunately at one point I had an NL team in the Astros and an AL team in Detroit, and now I just have two AL teams and no NL teams. So that's still an open card.
The Reds are taking auditions right now. Yeah. That's kind of it. Otherwise, yeah, you'd know me from around the Triviaverse as the guy who commissioners Online Quiz League USA and Online Quiz League USA Pop Solos, which are a team competition in all trivia, pop culture competition for individuals. They've gotten pretty hot over the course of quarantine and still running. So that's my role in all this now. If you are an OQL player, chances are Steve has read one of your games for you. It's pretty busy that way, I know. So Scott, Eric, how are y'all doing tonight?
I'm good. I'm always excited to be on and join such a esteemed company. I'm scared because Dan's been talking up Steve Bahnaman since I think before we started our first episode. So
Yeah, I'm just responsible for Dan winning money.
Dan's not he doesn't lie. When he talks someone up, typically they show up and they impress. We can ask Phil Sanford about that. But yeah, I'm excited. I'm teaming with Eric, so we're gonna have a puncher's chance here, and we'll see how it goes.
No, I've actually, like Scott said, Dan has talked Steve up quite a bit from the very, very beginning.
Well, down we go.
He humbles me. Like anytime I think I'm good, he's like, "No, Steve Bahnaman. He wouldn't have taken him that long." But I one thing with meeting you now, Steve, I'm glad to finally have met you. But based on all the teams you root for, I really think Eric Walling probably really would have loved you. He's got multiple favorite teams as well, and he really loves it. So.
Yeah, I got Liverpool. I didn't even mention Liverpool.
Boo, oh, see, no, we can get along now. Hold on.
All right, so in the background there, and you've heard his name already brought up once tonight. We also have a special guest co-host with us tonight, and there's a reason for this. First of all, let me introduce him. This is going to be Phil Sanford. Phil, how are you tonight?
Doing pretty good, Dan.
Good. Last time you and Steve were on a podcast together, I think he beat you in sports trivia.
Yes, by a point, I think. It was something went right down to the last question, I think.
But the reason we have Phil on tonight is because our home court advantage game tonight is a split game. It's going to be two different topics. It's going to be the Final Four, which I really don't know much about. I'm college basketball. I mean, I like watching, but I'm not a guru with that at all. So we brought Phil on to write and read those questions for us. So he will be doing 2 quarters tonight of Final Four. And the other half of the game is going to be Wrestlemania questions. Quite the thematic weekend that we had here. And matter of fact, I had to somehow try and watch both Wrestlemania and Duke Carolina at the same time, which was really tough to do.
I just did not. I refused. I watched the Duke game, then put back on Wrestlemania, watched it till it was over. Those 2 hours behind and couldn't look at Twitter, which is a bummer.
That night of Wrestlemania was actually a really good show. So it was.
I liked night one better. A lot of people say night two was better, but I like night one better.
Yeah,
they were both really good, and then Raw wasn't. So it was a bummer.
Yeah, and to Dan's point, I know a lot about basketball, know a lot about college basketball, and I know absolutely nothing about wrestling. So it is a very good pairing of him writing the wrestling questions and me writing the basketball questions.
All right. So before we get started, we're going to kick it over to future Dan for the rules.
We'll be starting off with the coin flip question to warm up the teams. This will be followed by 4 quarters of play, each with a different trivia style. The styles of quarters 1 through 3 will change from show to show, and I will explain them as we go along. Like any good sporting event, we will have a halftime show after the second quarter with entertainment questions pertaining to sports. And in the fourth quarter, our teams will wager from their points accumulated to see who are today's clipboard captains, to be honored like the true benchwarmers they are. All right, let's get this game underway.
Rubbish job reading those rules, Dan. Go to your room and think about what you've done. One of these days, I'll get those right. We want, not tonight, but it'll be one of those days. All right, it's time for the coin flip. This is going to be a 50-50 warm-up question worth 10 points. And it's going to go to you, Steve. And if you get it, it's 10 points. If you don't get it, the other team gets 10 points.
Okay.
So here is your coin flip question. And this is designed to be a coin flip. So if you know it, great. But it's designed for you not to know it.
Understood.
So here's the coin flip question. I would like to know who has wrestled in more WrestleManias, Owen Hart or Davey Boy Smith?
Ooh, well, okay. Owen Hart's first Mania was WrestleMania 5. Davey Boy was in a bunch up to that point. Then he took a bunch of time off. There are not very many memorable WrestleMania British Bulldog matches. Just want to be very clear about that, which makes this harder. Owen had a bunch of guys. Davey Boy.
All right. Davey Boy Smith has wrestled in 7 WrestleManias. Owen Hart has wrestled in 8 WrestleManias.
Gosh.
So, Eric and Scott, without doing anything, you have gotten 10 points to start this game.
Yeah, we were talking here and said we both would have went with Owen. His last being 15. So with 10 years there, even if he missed a few, we figured he'd at least have probably 8.
Well, he had 8.
Yeah, seven or 8 we figured. So
who's to say who the Blue Blazer was?
Right.
That's true, right? All right. So heading into the first quarter, we have a score of Eric and Scott have 10 and Steve has 0, but there are plenty of points to be scored.
Before we get to the first quarter, we wanted to let you know that we are on Patreon if you'd be interested in supporting us financially. Your contributions will be used to help us cover the costs that it takes to bring you the high-quality sports trivia you have come to expect from us. There's also some great perks that come with the Patreon membership to the Benchwarmers Trivia Podcast, including bonus episodes and Benchwarmers swag. You can find us at patreon.com/benchwarmerstp. Thanks.
We go into the first quarter, which will be the missing link.
Son of a... Whew.
Off the rip.
The missing link. This quarter will consist of 5 questions with theme-linked answers. The teams will attempt to answer the questions and guess the theme. Each question is worth 20 points. If a team checks in first via chat to the host with the correct theme before the 5th question, they will earn 100 points. The other team can still earn 50 points with the correct theme guess. If neither team has checked in with the correct theme before the 5th question, each team can earn 50 points with the correct answer to the theme after the 5th question.
So today's missing link, I'm going to give you a WrestleMania number and an opponent and the result of the match. And you will need to tell me which WWE superstar made their WrestleMania debut based on that information. So question number 1, WrestleMania 12, The Ultimate Warrior, and it was a loss.
Checked in.
I got it.
You both got it? All right. So, Steve, what do you got?
Very, very squashed Hunter Hearst Helmsley.
All right. And Scott and Eric.
Yep, it's Triple H.
That is correct. Both teams getting the points on that one. Question number 2. WrestleMania 34. AJ Styles. Loss.
Okay, locked in.
All right. Steve's in. So Eric and Scott, you can talk it out.
Pretty sure this is Shinsuke Nakamura.
I have socks of his.
Well, because other AJ Styles WrestleMania matches wouldn't have been those guys' debuts. Shane McMahon, Chris Jericho, that wouldn't have been their debut match. So the only person I think it could be is Shinsuke.
More than I got.
We're going to check in with Shinsuke Nakamura.
All right. And Steve, what'd you get?
The answer is Shinsuke Nakamura. He heel turned on him after the match by punching him in the groin, and then punched him in the groin for the whole rest of the summer. It was the whole premise of their feud.
Just kept happening over and over and over again.
Yes, it did.
That's right. So the theme-based answers so far: Triple H, Shinsuke Nakamura. Question number 3. WrestleMania 20 with Batista, Ric Flair against The Rock and Mankind win.
We can check in.
Okay. So Scott and Eric have checked in. So Steve, you can try and talk this one out.
You said with Batista
and Ric Flair.
Yeah. Okay. I think I know.
All right. What do you got?
Randy Orton.
And Scott and Eric, what do you have?
Yeah, we checked in with the same. It's the Viper.
It is Randall Keith Orton. That is correct. It was that handicap match that they had against the Rock and Mankind. That's right.
Yeah, it was a fun match.
So our theme-linked answers so far are Triple H, Shinsuke Nakamura, Randy Orton. And I will tell you that the theme is also WrestleMania related. Okay.
Oh, okay. Well, never mind for that then.
All right. Question number 4. WrestleMania 23. Mr. Kennedy, Edge, King Booker, Jeff Hardy, Matt Hardy, Finley, Randy Orton. Loss.
Got it.
All right. So it sounds like Steve has checked in. So Scott and Eric, you can talk it out.
I'm pretty sure this is CM Punk. It's the Money in the Bank ladder match.
Honestly, that's I have next to nothing in this entire category, and that was the first name that popped in my head.
Yeah, he won the next 2. He lost that one at 23, and he won at 24 and 25. So
isn't 23? That's the. I just want to make sure I have the right one in my head. That's like the Donald Trump idiot.
Yes, yep,
okay.
That's all grown up. Yeah, yeah, we're gonna check in with CM Punk.
All right, and Steve, what did you have?
CM Punk, definitely.
All right. So our themed-based answers so far are Triple H, Shinsuke Nakamura, Randy Orton, CM Punk. All right. Question number 5. WrestleMania 32. Charlotte Flair, Becky Lynch. Loss.
Walked in.
Yeah, same.
All right. Scott and Eric, what'd you have?
This is the boss, Sasha Banks.
All right. And Steve?
Definitely Sasha Banks, yes. With Snoop Dogg.
So our theme-based answers are Triple H, Shinsuke Nakamura, Randy Orton, CM Punk, Sasha Banks.
All right, so he's checked in, right? We can talk.
Yeah, he's checked in. Yeah.
Okay.
So Steve has checked in his guess, so you guys can talk it out, Scott and Eric.
So the long hair thing, it's not.
Okay.
Just Randy Orton's hurting you on that one.
He's killing me. So then I thought maybe that they all the Sasha Banks immediately reminded me of the Snoop Dogg thing. So I was wondering had they all had someone perform some of their theme at a Mania, because CM Punk had Living Color and Triple H could have had Motorhead.
I think that might be if for the only fact that the last one's supposed to kind of give it away, and if that's the first thing you thought after hearing the last answer.
Yeah, but now I'm also thinking, because it was made a big deal. This was Sasha Banks' first win at WrestleMania, and she's like 1-6, 1-5, or 1-6. So I'm wondering if this has something to do with the win-loss record. because I know Triple H has a terrible record. Orton is probably close to 500, maybe.
I like your answer. I mean, if that's where your mind went right away with
I
that
just
last
don't
one.
think I don't remember Orton ever having either of his theme songs performed live at a Mania. Like, I'm pretty sure
Who
that
does
hasn't
his
happened.
theme song? Do you know who does it?
I don't know who does his, I guess, most classic one that he's had for a while. I hear voices in my head. Oh, it's like Rev Theory or one of those weird.
Oh, they would definitely do that.
And I'm not saying they wouldn't, but I just
They were
don't
probably there and
recall it.
nobody even knew.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
They weren't even invited. They just showed up. They're like, let's do this.
But the other one is, like I said, win-loss record. I don't really know how to word that.
Yeah, I think we go with what your first thought was. Never second guess your first thought if you don't have a clue.
All right, yeah, I guess we can just do that. And I don't feel strong about Orton having his theme song performed live at a Mania, but the other one could fit. Nakamura's got his is like classical, so I think they had like maybe a violinist and some other like a band. So I guess we'll say they've all been performed to the ring live at a WrestleMania for their entrance.
Okay. And Steve, what did you say for yours?
What I said was they all have losing records at Mania, which I think is true. I actually totally thought of the performance thing at one point, and then I said not Randy Orton, but I think he might have gotten played out at 30, and nobody thinks about that part of that match. So, yeah, but that, or maybe Lemmy played Evolution, but that'd be a little fun.
No, because I think the only Evolution match he had was 20.
Yeah,
and they definitely.
Yeah, so that must be.
That.
Yeah.
All right, so here's what's going on. Steve, you were correct, technically correct, which is the best kind of correct. So I am having to give you the 50 points for this. However, Scott and Eric, you got exactly what I was looking for, which is they were all played out. So you are also getting the 50 points. It's the fairest way that I can do this. Triple H was played out by Motorhead.
Yep.
Shinsuke Nakamura by Nita Strauss, and more recently by Rick Boogs, I suppose.
Yeah, I guess so.
Randy Orton by Rev Theory. CM Punk by Living Color, and of course Sasha Banks famously by Snoop Dogg. So after the first quarter, we have a score of Steve has 150, and Eric and Scott with the 10 points from the coin flip have 160.
Good job, guy.
And we are going to move us on to the second quarter, which is going to be Phil. And what's our category going to be, Phil?
It is going to be David versus Goliath.
David versus Goliath. This quarter will consist of 3 pairs of questions, one easier, David, and one harder, Goliath. After hearing both questions, the teams will pick one of the 2 questions to answer, either David or Goliath. Each David question is worth 25 points, and each Goliath question is worth 50 points.
Okay, so for the second quarter, we are going to be doing David versus Goliath. And the theme for this is going to be Final 4 Most Outstanding Players. I will be giving you a year and a team, and you will have to give me the answer to who I am describing. There's going to be one David and one Goliath for each of the pairings here. So question 1, David, 1982, North Carolina. Question 1, Goliath, 2017, North Carolina.
We can check in.
Scott and Eric, I have checked in. All right, so Steve, you want to go ahead and which one did you go with? David or Goliath?
I'll go ahead with the tough one. Had a pretty bad tournament leading up to the Final Four, as I recall. Had a good Final Four as Joel Berry.
Okay, and
Joel Berry.
And Scott and Eric.
We had the same thing. It was Joel Berry, the second, I believe.
both teams are correct. Is Joel Berry the second? My flavor text for that is, and this has to do with a Instagram post I saw recently from one of my friends, that Barry is currently working in the brokerage division at the Truist Bank headquarters here in Charlotte. One of my friends posted a picture last week, and I'm like, wait a second, I just wrote a question about him randomly. Does anybody
See if he wants to come on?
Yeah.
I kind of wonder what percentage of Final Four most outstanding players have jobs like that rather than like basketball player, because I think it's pretty high.
Yeah,
like,
I looked up his career, and it looked like he was just kind of bouncing around in some lower international leagues, and then called it quits. Looks like early last year. So
used to not be able to move in the triangle without hearing a Chris Corciani real estate ad. He was never a most outstanding player in the Final Four, so I'm not giving anything away with that.
So does anybody want to take a stab at with David?
It's a James Worthy.
James Worthy.
Correct.
Number 52, which is a very ugly number that I'm surprised he used.
So from Gastonia, North Carolina, James Worthy.
The armpit of the Charlotte area. I said that.
So Michael Jordan hit the famous go-ahead shot in that game, but Worthy was the star of the game and that season for the Tar Heels. In addition to most outstanding player, he was also a consensus first-team All-American. So congrats, both teams getting 50 points there. Question 2, David, 1986 Louisville. Question 2, Goliath, 2013 Louisville.
We can check in.
All right, Eric and Scott have checked in. Steve, you can talk it through and go with whichever one you want.
I don't have any idea who it was on that second Louisville team. I suspect I'm just going to have to tap it in, because I remember Russ, but I don't think it's him, and I don't really remember. I hate that team a lot for two reasons. One, they knocked out Duke, and two, those camo uniforms, the worst things of all time that they wore the whole tournament. They're just kind of, and also my kid was 1.5 at the time, so my watching was not very good. I just do not know the answer to that one. 1986, they also beat Duke, but that time in the final was Purvis Ellison. So I will go with Purvis Ellison for the first one for David.
All right, and Scott and Eric.
I checked in super quick, but now I'm hoping I'm right. I was super positive, and then when he didn't know, I'm like, well, maybe why don't I? Why do I know? And nobody else does. And but I fairly sure it's Luke Hancock.
All right, so here are the answers for David. It is indeed Purvis Ellison. Never Nervous Purvis scored 25 points and grabbed 11 rebounds to lead the Cardinals to a 3-point win over Duke. As Steve pointed out and stole some of my flavor text there. And Goliath, it is indeed Luke Hancock. And Steve also touched on a portion of my flavor notes here. Russ Smith was a breakout star for the Cardinals in the tournament, but in the Final Four, Luke Hancock came off the bench and hit some clutch shots and led them, especially in the second half against Michigan, to secure the win. So both teams are correct.
And he's got to be in the bottom tier of the tier list of most outstanding players,
right.
In terms of his overall contributions to the team. That's crazy.
And it's weird. He's kind of he's the type of player that you used to see. He was kind of a throwback to late 80s, early 90s type of player, but you just don't see him very much in the modern basketball, where he's just kind of a plodding 6'6", 6'5", 6'6", power forward. It just doesn't move real fast. He doesn't have a lot of great skills, but he could. In the Final Four, he was just nailing everything from outside. It was crazy to watch.
That'll do it.
Mm-hmm.
And Steve was not wrong. The camo uniforms were trash.
Yes. All right, so the final one here. David, question number 3, 2018 Villanova. Goliath, 1971 Villanova.
Would you like to ask about 1985 Villanova? I know that one. Ooh. I'm locked in. I'm not gonna.
Okay. Steve
proceed
Selectin,
down that path.
Eric and Scott, you want to talk it out and give your David or Goliath?
Well, it's probably good we get to talk it out since there seems to be
Yeah, I mean, any
question
Villanova player that has won this, I know who they are, except for this one because it was vacated. So I don't know if we go with vacated, is that going to be accepted? Because technically, nobody. I don't know who it was though. I just know that year they vacated like their entire.
interesting. I mean,
What do you want to
should
do?
we ask Phil for clarification
I mean, sure.
if
I
he's
mean,
willing to provide clarification on 71? Are you looking for a player, Phil?
Yes, I am looking for
Okay.
a player.
Okay. So
And since Eric said it, Eric is correct in that's also the flavor text to the
It's,
Goliath is that it was
it's like
vacated.
exactly as vacant as most vacant things in college sports, and that it is not vacant in the
Right, so we-
program.
We can't name vacant as the player. Okay.
no, it was never won by anybody ever.
You sure it wasn't
They never played
Alfonso?
those
It
games.
wasn't Alfonso Vacant. Wasn't it pronounced Vacant?
We're just going to go with DiVincenzo. He said 2018, right? That's 16.
Correct.
Yep.
Mhm.
2018.
So we're going to check in with Dante DiVincenzo.
Okay. And Steve?
Yes, Dante DiVincenzo.
Both
If you're-
teams are
If you're Italian and you play guard, we've got a spot for you at Villanova.
so 2 years after fellow Italian guard Ryan Arcidiacono won most outstanding player, Dante DiVincenzo won it in 2018. He scored 31 points in the national championship game as the Wildcats rolled over Michigan for their second title in 3 seasons.
Dump them.
The 1971, so my flavor text, as Eric already said, Villanova was the runner-up to UCLA this year, but due to this particular player's issues with his amateur status, Villanova had to vacate that season, and that player is Howard Porter.
Or Porter.
Hopo. Remember Hopo?
No, I do not.
No one does apparently. Not even history.
Early 70s Big East basketball is not exactly,
Not a hotbed.
like it was not a hot conference.
Well, no, it wasn't even a conference. It was.
Wasn't even? Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, they were all independent.
Big Five, whatever weirdness.
Yeah, independent / ECAC happenings going on there.
It's very exciting news for any Villanova fan too that we have another Arcidiacono on the team. So don't feel like there's going to be a vacancy. We got it covered.
Somebody needs to just say Ed Pinkney. Ed Pinkney also deserves to be mentioned in this conversation. So Boston Celtics legend Ed Pinkney.
After the second quarter, we have a score. Steve has 250, and Eric and Scott have increased the lead by just a little bit. They are at 285. That brings us to halftime.
It is now time for the halftime show. There will be 3 entertainment questions pertaining to sports, with each question worth 25 points.
And this halftime, since we generally would have entertainment questions during halftime, and it's going to be Wrestlemania, I'm going to be doing this about celebrities at Wrestlemania.
Yeah, baby.
So again, I'm going to give you the Wrestlemania, and I'm going to give you the job that this person or what they did at Wrestlemania, and I need you to tell me, and actually what they're famous for, and then you just tell me who it was. So for question 1, WrestleMania 10, special ring announcer for the main event, actor. I have the who wrestled in the main event if you want that.
I mean, that I
WrestleMania 10.
Yeah.
I feel like they must know that. Yeah, jeez.
What was that again, Dan? What was that?
WrestleMania 10, special ring announcer for the main event, actor.
I think this guy was there.
I'm gonna.
No, it's
Oh, was that 10? Okay, yeah.
I'm gonna. shoot, I'm getting 10 and 11 mixed up for this hit.
That like
and 12. There were some very naff celebrities. That
that era they were really
I'm
trying.
getting a little bit. Okay,
Yeah.
I just watched this OSW with you.
I'm good with that, Eric.
I know who
Yeah,
it is. Okay, got it. Yes, I hope that's what I'm going to go with.
All right, we're going to check in.
Okay. So I think Steve actually checked in first. So you guys go ahead, Scott and Eric.
I mean, this was when I was still watching. It was before I was lost. I'm actually trying to catch up on Peacock because you can literally watch all of it from the beginning until now, and it's amazing. But this, I'm pretty sure, was Burt Reynolds. So that's what we're going to check in with.
All right. And Steve?
Yeah, that's my record. Is a apparently dazed Burt Reynolds.
You are both remembering correctly. It was Burt Reynolds. Very good. Question
Big
number
star.
2. Yeah, big star.
Yeah.
He had a big hat too.
What's he doing today?
Oh,
Too soon?
come on.
All right.
Come on, Eric.
Oh,
It's a good
boy.
name. Yokozuna. It's a good name.
It's a good name. It's funny. It's funny. Question number 2. WrestleMania 25 audience member came out of the audience and knocked out Chris Jericho. Actor.
Locked in.
Audience member.
All right, Steve's in. So Scott and Eric, talk it out.
I'm pretty sure this is Mickey Rourke.
Okay.
So we're gonna check in with Mickey Rourke.
All right, and Steve, what'd you say?
Yeah, it is extremely Mickey Rourke. This Jericho shoots on Mickey Rourke all the freaking time. It's very funny. I hated him so much.
Yes, the correct answer is Mickey Rourke. All right, finally, question number 3. WrestleMania 1 guest referee with Pat Patterson for the main event. Athlete.
We can check in, Scott.
Got it.
All right, so Steve, what do you have?
Muhammad Ali.
And Eric and Scott?
I have Mr. T.
Well,
He was in the match.
the main event was Hulk Hogan and Mr. T versus
mind.
Paul Orndorff and Rowdy Piper. had some Rocky vibes too.
Oh, they should have had Rocky, man. I don't know how
Yeah.
they know.
Yeah, that would have been
Yeah.
good.
That was his WrestleMania 1. They weren't getting Stallone.
No, not at 1. At 5.
Yeah, maybe at 5.
They needed him at 4,
I
really.
mean, how far is Sylvester Stallone at any point from Atlantic City in 1986?
Well, 4 could have used him. That was a not great WrestleMania. 5, at least you had the Mega Powers kind of
Right.
selling tickets.
They exploded, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, 4 could have used them though.
All right. Yes, the correct answer is Muhammad Ali.
His bow tie. They always show him
Yeah.
on those montages.
Hold on.
One had Liberace.
They never
One.
make the guest
One.
refs who are celebs dress like guest refs anymore. They just get to wear cool T-shirts. But Muhammad
Yeah.
Ali put on a long sleeve shirt and a bow tie.
He took it very seriously.
Okay. After halftime, things have gotten interesting. We have a score of Steve is at 325, and Eric and Scott, by virtue of the coin toss, are at 335, which is going to bring us to the third quarter.
We'd like to take a minute to invite you to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at BenchwarmersTP. We also have a Facebook group for fans of the pod called The Bench. Join us there to comment on the latest episodes and share cool sports facts and trivia. If you'd be willing to rate and review us on iTunes or Stitcher, we'd greatly appreciate the support so that other people may find this podcast. Thanks.
And today's third quarter, we'll be going back to Phil. What is our category, Phil?
Category is going to be flop, turn, and river.
Flop, turn, and river. For this quarter, there will be 3 questions consisting of 5 clues. The first 3 clues will be given before the teams decide if they want to check in with their guests. The last 2 clues will be given one at a time, with teams deciding if they want to check in with their guests after each subsequent clue. If a correct answer is checked in after the first 3 clues, the team will receive 50 points. After the 4th clue, 30, and after the 5th clue, 20.
All right, Phil, go ahead.
Okay, so question 1 under the category of Flop, Turn, and River is who am I? Clue number 1, I have played and coached in the Final Four. Clue number 2, though I did not win a championship as a player, I have as a coach. And clue number 3, in my senior year, I averaged 20 points per game and earned regional MVP en route to the Final Four.
I'm going to go for it. I have a thought, but it's not worth the risk.
All right, and Scott and Eric?
I don't have anything concrete based off of those 3 clues.
All right, we can take another one, I guess.
Okay, clue number 4 on the turn. 13 years after graduating college, I coached a school to its second ever Final Four appearance.
You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go ahead and say that I pass.
Okay.
Scott and Eric?
I think he did it with both, if I'm thinking right.
Yeah,
Okay.
but I mean, do we like it enough to?
I mean, he's taking another one. I mean, we're safe to take another one.
Right, that's what I think we should. Yeah.
All right, we'll do it.
All right, so the last clue number 5. In 2007, I led the University of Florida to its second championship in a row, defeating Ohio State.
Okay. Got it.
We were close.
We were close. They had similar hair.
Yes.
They
All right.
do.
They do. I know. We're checked in.
Okay, Steve, you indicate you know this one now.
Yeah, it's Eddie Munster. Better known in some circles as Billy Donovan.
Okay, and Scott and Eric?
Yeah, we were thinking maybe Coach Cal there for a minute. Just trying to figure out that kind of formula, thinking it was a small school, then a big school. We were close, contemporary. Yeah, we also checked in with Billy Donovan.
Both teams are correct with Billy Donovan, and he. So
Rick
going through
Pitino hair disciple.
right. So he did not win the championship as a player at Providence, where he's coached by Rick Pitino, but he did win 2 championships at Florida. Prior to Florida, he was actually the head coach at Marshall, and since leaving Florida, he's coached 2 teams in the NBA. So it is Billy Donovan. So both teams get 20 points there. So next flop, turn, or river is where am I? Where am I? Clue number 1. This city has hosted the Final Four in 3 different venues. Clue number 2. Kentucky, Duke, and Virginia are the teams that have won the championship in this city. Clue number 3. The first venue in the city to host the Final Four is still standing, and it is the home court of a major conference Division I college basketball team.
I think I know. What were the teams? Duke?
Kentucky, Duke, and Virginia.
Yeah, I'm in.
Okay. So Steve has checked in. Scott and Eric, would you like to check in, or would you like to hear the next clue?
I think our best bet is to try to pinpoint it based on Virginia, right? Because Kentucky and Duke have too many national championships to try to pinpoint, right? So
I'm trying to think of what.
And then 3 different venues. It's probably a rather large state.
Wait. Minnesota, possibly. Or Indianapolis.
Oh. Indy, yeah. Indianapolis, I like both of them.
I want to say they both did it 3 times.
Right. Does Indianapolis would have 3 different venues?
You figure, an older one that's still standing.
Right.
So, and it's a Division I.
Yeah, I mean.
So I think that might be Minnesota. So Minneapolis. You want the city?
City.
I'm thinking it might be Minneapolis.
There's a lot of Minnesota on this podcast, so
there is. And if he checked in, I don't want to.
I'm inclined to go for it. I don't see why.
I
not.
feel like they'll have an older
Right. No, I think they would
arena
too.
over Indianapolis. So
I
let's
agree.
go with Minneapolis.
Okay, checking in with with you tripped me up there too, Scott. You're checking in with Minneapolis, and Steve, what did you check in with?
Yeah, I was actually at the 92 Final Four in Minneapolis. The reason I was sure it was Minneapolis and not Indianapolis is because of 2019. The Final Four had the Timberwolves pine trees.
So the next the turn and river clues are: one of the venues in the city that has hosted the Final Four is the only place to host the Final Four, Super Bowl, Major League Baseball All-Star Game, and World Series. And clue number 5 is this city is usually paired with its neighbor, the state capital, as a nickname for the region. And the correct answer, both teams are correct, is Minneapolis.
Both would have been able to rule out Indianapolis after the second.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so they've hosted it at Williams Arena, which is on the campus of University of Minnesota. That's when Kentucky won a championship, I believe in 51, maybe 52, sometime in the 50s. And then Duke won twice in the Hubert H. Humphrey, 1951 is Williams Arena. Then Duke won twice in the Hubert H. Humphrey Metrodome, and in U.S. Bank Arena is when Virginia avenged their loss to UMBC to take home the national title. So good job with both teams getting 50 points there.
I learned something. I did not know.
That was a good bluff with Hinkle there.
Right. I know.
That was
Yep.
on your mind. That's good stuff.
Yeah, I did not know Williams Arena had hosted a Final Four. So
there's a lot of.
I
learned
learned
something
something too. I did not remember the little Timberwolves trees thing Steve mentioned so vividly.
Okay, so the last one in Flop Turner River is when am I? Clue number 1, this year's Final Four was played on a college campus. Clue number 2, this year's champion won its first championship in its second ever appearance in the Final Four. Clue number 3, one of the teams that lost in the semifinals had to vacate its Final Four appearance due to NCAA violations.
Yeah, I'm not going to go for this thing.
You want to do, Scott?
How strong do you feel about what we were saying?
I don't.
Then we should probably take another clue.
Okay, we'll take another one.
Okay, so the clue on the turn, clue number 4 is this year's champion was outside of the top 4 seeds.
Lock in.
Steve's locked in. Scott and Eric, you can talk it out and decide if you want to take it here or go to the next one.
That changes a little bit, right, of what we were thinking. Won its first championship in its second ever appearance in the Final Four.
The last outside the top 4 to win a championship was UConn, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
But I don't think anybody vacated anything.
No, I don't remember that either. I'm trying to think of what's been vacated. All right, who else was outside of the top 4?
You're going way back though,
right?
This might just be Villanova in '85.
Yeah, who vacated?
There was. I think that now that you say, I think there was a school that vacated in '85.
Okay.
Not sure who though.
I mean, pretty banner year in this game overall, right? Because very memorable Final Four and WrestleMania. So 85 is kind of a banner year for the theme of this game.
And I do know that they didn't start seeding as far as numbers until 79.
Okay.
So.
Right.
Let's go 1985.
Yeah, I think, let's do it.
Right.
Yeah, it could be their second ever. Yeah, I like it.
And Steve, what was your answer?
85.
All right, and the final clue here, this probably would have given away, is the Final Four this year included 3 teams from the Big East, and that is indeed 1985.
Hey, we get to bring up Ed Pinkney organically now.
Yes, yeah. And it's funny, during the discussion, you actually included the school that received the sanction as the non-Big East school. It was Memphis at the time, Memphis State.
Yeah.
Right. Yep, that's right.
So both teams will receive 30 points on that one.
Yeah, Memphis has been dirty like over and over and over and over and over and over again forever. Like they're just like they're just a sanctioned magnet. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I guess the only thing. Well, so yeah, NC State was a higher seed than that, I think, but like that was also close. I think that was at the pit, right? So.
Right, and this game was 1985 was played at Rupp Arena, and I believe it's the last time that the Final Four has been played on a college campus. Ever since then, it's been played either at NBA arenas or at domes.
All right, well, after the third quarter, we have scores of Steve has 425 and still clinging to that 10-point lead. Eric and Scott have 435. And that will bring us to the fourth quarter.
The fourth quarter, known as Put Your Fours Up. This quarter consists of 4 categorized questions that teams will wager up to 100 points each, not to exceed their current point total.
The categories for today are as follows. Question 1, WWE versus NFL.
Question number 2, the category is near perfection.
Question number 3, the category is Iron Men.
And category 4 is going to be quitters never prosper.
It's now time for the teams to place their wagers. Now that the wagers are in, on to the questions. Question number 1 in WWE versus NFL. WrestleMania 2 featured a 20-man battle royal featuring WWF superstars and NFL players. Who was the last NFL player eliminated? A Super Bowl champion tight end who finished 4th to Andre the Giant and the Hart Foundation.
Yeah, I got this.
Right. Sounds like Steve is in, so Scott and Eric, you could talk it out.
All right, tight end.
Super Bowl it would have to be in the 80s, probably.
Well, I guess the Super Bowl technically doesn't have to be in the 80s,
But no, he would have been on a Super Bowl winning team, so I'm thinking if not the Bears, then maybe 49ers or Giants, but I don't think it was like Mark Bavaro or like anybody like that. So if you go to the 49ers, I'm not sure. I'm spacing on his first name. I want to say his last name's Francis.
okay. I mean, there are other Super Bowl winning teams from the 80s. Doesn't have to be. He could have won a Super Bowl in 1981. He could have won a Super Bowl in 1992. You know what I mean? It doesn't necessarily have to be. He didn't say Super Bowl winning at the time. So.
Sure.
But I've never seen this match. I'm not a huge fan of.
It's on the VHS I have.
I'm sure it is. It's also on
You
Peacock.
gotta watch it. It's so good.
It really is. It's fun. It's fun because it's stupid.
Well, I go to the gimmick battle royal from WrestleMania 17. That's
Almost asked a question about that one too, but figured that one's pretty well known. So
Francis is jumping in my head. I can't think.
I'm
of
good with
somebody
it then.
else.
Sounds good to me.
Because the Fridge was in the match, but he's
Right.
not a tight end. There was a Steeler, I know that, and there was a Falcon. I forget their names, but I think Francis is the guy.
All right.
So we're going to check in with generic Francis for, that's not his first name, just Francis, for 100 points.
all right. And Steve, what did you say and for how much?
Russ Francis for 100 points. Screw you.
Those are my thoughts exactly.
Dubo Covert, Bill Fralick.
Yes.
That's the list.
Yep.
Yeah, I remember
Ernie
Covert
Holmes.
being in there.
That match is very poor.
Yes, the correct answer is Russ Francis. Came down to Andre the Giant and the Hart Foundation, and they disposed of him, and then Andre disposed of the Hart Foundation.
Big Trip watching that match and thinking about that match is that Andre the Giant is wearing yellow and the Hart Foundation is wearing blue.
Mhm.
It's very weird. Like, because your image of them is black singlet guy and like pink. Right? It's pretty funny.
All right, Phil, on to you for question 2.
Okay, so question 2, this is in near perfection. 7 teams have completed an undefeated season with the championship, but only once have 2 teams entered the Final Four undefeated. Who are the 2 teams that entered the Final Four undefeated in the same season? One won the championship and the other lost its only 2 games of the season in the Final Four.
I'll try this. You guys can talk.
Okay, Steve is checked in.
So they're about an hour from me, maybe. St. Bonaventure in the 60s. Went undefeated.
Did they win the championship or did they go undefeated? And
no, they didn't. They didn't. I
third
don't
place
think they
game?
won. I don't think they won. I think I would know if they did, but I'm pretty sure they did not. Only reason I'm brushed up on them a little bit more is because like they were preseason ranked this year for like the first time since God knows when. But as far as the other team, no idea.
So if that was in the 60s, we just pick a team that we know won a championship in the 60s, assuming St. Bonaventure is the team that didn't win the championship.
Sure.
So
UCLA did
right? I mean, what, like the last 5 or 6 in the 60s, right, or something like that?
Something like that, right?
Kentucky was always good. I mean, I like the St. Bonaventure thing. So if you think that happened in the 60s, I say we go with either UCLA or Kentucky, and we know UCLA did it. So that's probably where we go. Yeah.
Okay, so your answers are UCLA and St. Bonaventure.
Yeah.
For 100 points, unfortunately.
Okay, and Steve?
Yeah, I'm not good. I'm not strong either. I have gone with, just because of like, so I have gone with UCLA and Drake.
The rapper?
Yes.
He's cursed all the way back then.
No, there was a year that it was also Purdue that year, and Drake was in the Final Four, and that seems like they could have been undefeated because they only played frickin' Creighton. You know what I mean? So that's what I went with.
Okay, so neither team is receiving points here. I checked. I just checked, and both are close. So St. Bonaventure had 1 loss heading into the 1970 Final Four. And Eric, you made me, when you were so confident about them being undefeated, I'm like, I had to start like, oh, wait a second, I really overlooked one. But they actually had an early season loss to Villanova, the team that you root for. Drake had 4 losses heading into the tournament that year. So the answer to this is from 1976 is Indiana and Rutgers.
Really?
Rutgers was undefeated heading into the Final Four, and they lost to Michigan in the Final Four, and then they lost the 3rd place game to UCLA. And Indiana beat UCLA in the semifinals. Then they defeated Michigan to cap an undefeated season in 1976.
I'm poking around because I want to see who Rutgers beat, because I was curious. And I will tell you, I think this is pretty cool. The answer is like no one.
Right.
But they when you Google 1976 Rutgers, the basketball team comes up second because the football team was also undefeated.
Wow.
Banner year for New Jersey.
Yeah,
I guess so.
What was
Their
Bon
best
Jovi
year
up to
ever.
in 1970?
Yeah.
How'd Seton Hall do that year?
very bad.
All right, we're going to move on to question number 3 in Iron Men. We probably all know that the longest match in WrestleMania history was the classic Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart match of WrestleMania 12. But which 2 wrestlers competed in the second longest WrestleMania match? This match put a multiple-time world champion against a multiple-time world champion who also combined to hold the World Tag Team Championship.
Oh, yeah. No, got it. Jeez. Okay.
All right, I think Steve is checked in. So, Scott and Eric, you can talk it out.
My initial thought was Steve Austin and Bret Hart at 13. I know that's a pretty long match. They fit the criteria. I don't remember if they won the tag titles together or not, though, because that was in the era where they were doing those like strange bedfellow type of tag teams all the time. Like Stone Cold and Dude Love were the tag champs.
Yeah. What about
And like weird stuff like that.
Wasn't Diesel and Shawn Michaels champs together?
Yeah, but I don't remember their match being that long though.
No.
Like it was long, but I don't even know if that was longer than like Shawn Michaels Kurt Angle. That was a pretty long match from 21. Shawn Michaels Undertaker. Both of their matches were pretty long.
And Stone Cold and
I don't think
didn't
Diesel
have like a crazy long match.
No, they never faced at WrestleMania.
Okay.
So like I can't see Diesel going more than 30 minutes.
Okay.
So I think we're looking at like Austin, Bret Hart, if maybe they won the tag titles, or Michaels and Diesel for sure.
None of the newer guys.
No, because Roman and Seth haven't fought.
And it's going to be a multiple champion too. Both of them are
right.
So,
yeah, that's what I mean. These are obviously
known.
known. These are known guys. I just don't know if Stone Cold and Bret Hart ever won the tag titles. I know that's a long match. I watched that match.
I don't think
it's very long.
I think because I was around for most of Bret Hart's. Like I was still watching at that time.
Right. I'm trying to remember if this was like right before when Bret Hart went heel and it was the whole Canada versus the United States.
No, that was I don't think so. I was all in for that when the Patriot and all that other garbage showed up and
yes.
Yeah. Patriot almost won the championship on Raw once. I was like, why am I watching this? Wait. Is this that Randy Orton Edge crap from a couple years ago? That match took forever. Go with it.
And they're former tag team champions, and I mean I'm wearing the t-shirt. That match was really long. Let's just do it. All right, we're gonna say Randy Orton and Edge
for
100 points.
Okay. And Steve, what did you say?
Yeah, on a tour of the Performance Center, it's Edge and Randy Orton for 1,000 years.
I think there's still that match is still going on, isn't it?
There have been 3 matches that have gone more than 31 minutes. There have been like 6 that have gone 30.
Yeah.
Just 3 though. I'd have thought some people would have clocked.
But there are only 3 that have gone over 31 minutes. And the one was Triple H, The Rock, Mankind, and The Big Show.
Oh yeah, that was long.
At WrestleMania 2000. That one went 36-24. And the Edge and Randy Orton went 36-35 in that no holds barred, no audience allowed WrestleMania 36.
That was edited too. So I wonder if they did it specifically to make it the second longest match of all time, like 11 seconds. You know what I mean?
All right, so going into the final question, we do have a score of 535 for Eric and Scott and 525 for Steve. So, Phil, you can go ahead and take away the fourth question.
Yeah, y'all got that. Y'all got that at the very end. I thought I might have. Yeah, that was one.
All right, so the last question here is in a category of quitters never prosper. This coach has 6 NCAA tournament appearances to his credit, with the 7th one that doesn't count. Who was forced to resign after accepting another job before the NCAA tournament and watched his team win the championship under the guidance of an interim coach?
Locked in.
All right, and Steve is locked in. Eric and Scott.
I don't remember this happening, so I don't know if you recall anything.
I don't know the coach's name. I'm pretty sure the school's Michigan.
You know where what job he took, or what Michigan championship year this was?
Late 80s.
Just a coach last name.
Saw this somewhere. I can't think of where the hell it was.
Bennett. This is what I do feel. Sometimes I just throw out names and it sparks something in my partner. When I'm this useless, that's usually the strategy I revert to. Fisher.
That's Steve Fisher. That's the coach that won.
Damn it. I think I remember him.
I
think he was in the Fab Five documentary.
He doesn't want that guy. I want to say his name was Bill. Bill or Bob.
Okay. Yeah, those
But
are great.
I don't have a last name.
Great coach names.
I don't think I'm gonna get a last name. Throw out a
Or
generic last name.
wasn't Billy Elliott?
Billy Joe.
Oh man.
Bobby A. Bear.
And you don't remember the school that this Bill or Bob went to?
Honestly, no.
Okay. Bill.
I do. I don't think it's helpful.
Well, it could be because if they
I wouldn't give them anything. Don't give them
I
anything.
think it honestly isn't, but
that means he probably didn't last very long at this other school. I don't know. So we pick a last name.
Yeah, you're good at picking random last names. Who did you get out of Dan the one time? This Cincinnati coach, that moron.
Oh,
I that's still in my soul, Dan. Like he just started throwing out like random names that rhymed, and you just got Billy Frick or something stupid. I don't even remember the dude. Freilich or something. What is it? I don't even remember.
I don't even remember anymore.
PTSD.
All right, let's go with Waters.
Bill Waters.
We're
not going Bill Waters.
What's wrong with Bill Waters?
I feel like that's a dude somewhere.
I'm pretty sure I bought a used car from him once.
Exactly.
Waters.
Let's go.
B. Waters is a Final Four coach. It's not him.
See?
But that's not bad.
Let's go with all right. Who name a kid I played basketball with?
Corey.
No, I never. Played with him.
No, he didn't get invited.
He did not get invited.
One of your teachers.
Let's go.
Oh, one of my teachers.
Nope. Here, shout out to a kid that I have not played since. Like I played little, whatever you want to call it, the equivalent of Pop Warner basketball with. Let's go with Friedman.
Okay, Bill Friedman. I like it. Or
there it is.
We're gonna check in with Friedman for 100 points.
Okay. And Steve, what was your answer?
That was weird.
I know it is a really weird answer. You guys gave.
This was the coach of Michigan who went to Arizona State. It's Bill Frieder. You had the story.
Why would you go from
Steve
Michigan to
Fisher.
Arizona State? That's stupid.
That's a good question why he did that. But Bill Frieder accepted the job between the regular season and the NCAA tournament, and he was forced to resign. And that's when the famous Bo Schembechler quote about wanting a Michigan coach, not an Arizona State coach, coach his team in the tournament. And Steve Fisher did win the NCAA title over my Seton Hall Pirates in overtime on a phantom foul call, but we won't get into that during this podcast. Bill Frieder, 1989 would have been his fifth straight NCAA appearance with Michigan. At Arizona State, he had 2 NCAA appearances, 4 NIT appearances, got fired because of a recruiting scandal, and he also had a point shaving scandal during his tenure. So he definitely did not go into a better situation, but I'm pretty sure he got paid more. That was the only reason why he left. But yeah, it is Bill Frieder. You guys were dangerously close to getting the correct answer, but Steve was correct on that one.
Shout out to Gabe Friedman.
Yeah. Your name was almost Gabe Frieder.
Yeah.
Love you, buddy. I haven't talked to you in 30 years.
The game has come to an end, and here are the final scores. Eric and Scott are going to finish this game with 435 points. But our clipboard captain of the game, who is receiving the Damian Midsdow Award, is Steve Bahnaman with 625 points. Congratulations, Steve, on this win. This is a really close game all night.
Why do I get that award?
Yeah, I'll have it. We'll mail it to you, or I'll swing up there and bring it to you.
I love Mizdao, but they had their blow off on the pre-show.
All right. So anything you guys want to say before we call it a night? Steve, we'll start with you, and then we'll go over to our bench warmers.
Nah, great game. Awesome stuff to think about. It's been long since I thought of Bill Frieder, so enjoyed that. Yeah, really good stuff. I got to remember amazing stuff like the WrestleMania 2 Battle Royal with NFL players and Edge versus Randy Orton at WrestleMania 36. Putting everybody to sleep in utter silence. But
I do believe I did fall asleep during that match.
I mean, it was, yeah. Anyway, yeah, thanks for playing, and thanks for having me. It was a really good time.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, Steve. We really do appreciate that.
Yeah, of course.
Scott and Eric, what do you have?
Yeah, I said it at the beginning. Usually when Dan talks somebody up, they come in here and prove them right. And I think you did that, Steve. You obviously know your stuff. It's a pleasure having you on after all this time. Finally, I feel like I've known you since 2020, just from Dan. And it's been great having you on. It's been a pleasure, just sharing the Zoom screen with someone of your stature. So always appreciate that. Phil, great portion of your game. Your games are always tough and challenging, but in a good way. I feel like I always leave your games learning a lot, which is good. Like Bill Frieder going to Arizona State. But yeah, no, thank you for your participation in this. That was great. We always appreciate having you on. And I wish that we could do more wrestling on this podcast because it's fun.
And Phil, I want to thank you for coming on and handling all the Final Four questions for me, because that would not have been fun for me to research and write. Unlike the Wrestlemania questions, which were very fun to research and write. So thank you very much for coming on and doing that, Phil. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. I always enjoy doing basketball questions. I know I did the basketball episode this in the fall. That was a lot of fun to put together a full episode. I'll be happy to do that again in October if you guys want to do another basketball episode right before the season tips off. But no, it's always fun since I think about basketball for far too long during each winter. It's always just fun to put together some facts in my head and actually research them and put them into questions that can be challenging but also fun to figure out. And
just a spoiler alert, you will be hearing Phil again soon. He's going to be recording in a few weeks, playing in a double guest episode with Brian Grubman. It's going to be Byron. Sorry, he'll be playing in a double episode with Byron Grubman. That's going to be a fun one. I'm really looking forward to that one. So
check out our YouTube channel. We have one up now. Check us out on TeePublic. Check us out on Grindr, StubHub. We've
StubHub?
Yeah, we're on StubHub now. We're branching off into everything. We were on an episode of Mr. Belvedere. Most people don't know that. It's kind of where we started. So yeah, no, just find us on YouTube, Benchwarmers. Don't search sports trivia because it won't pull us up. You'll get more questions about, the Golden Girls than you will sports trivia if you search sports trivia on YouTube. Don't get it.
Anything you want to say to Jake Manny before we leave? Or
you know what? I feel like he's been dodging me. He knows where I am. I know where you are, Jake. I'm coming for you, buddy. Just know that.
All right. Well, thank you for listening to the Benchwarmers Trivia Podcast. And until next time, we'll keep the bench warm.
That ball hit high and deep. Stretch! Get on back there. They look up. You can put it on the board. Yes!
Into deep left center for Mitchell. And we'll see you tomorrow night.
That great music you're listening to is by Justin Nozick. Thanks to him for producing that music for us. You've been listening to the Benchwarmers Trivia Podcast. Make sure to check us out on all of our social media. We are at Benchwarmers TP.